Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at blimps, a relatively new addition to command-mounted operations, and kind of some of the quirks and sort of some of the different ways that you can employ them. So what we have here is a pretty straightforward scenario where we have a bunch of Liberty classes that are picking up a little bit of speed. They're getting ready for their long journey over to England there. And of course, there's probably some nasty underwater threats, if you can kind of take a look at the year that we have here. Now, what happened is in World War II, the United States was actually still to this day, is they were spoiled because they have a lot of helium. And for those of you who know about blimps, lighter than air travel, basically, if you have yourself a gas that's lighter than air, it tends to rise. And if you trap that gas, it tends to bring anything up with it, assuming it's light enough. Now, in the early days, of course, you use hydrogen, which is a fantastically light gas, but it's also a little kabloomy of the humidity. You all know what I'm talking about. So what we did in World War II, what the United States did, is they started employing a bunch of blimps. And they actually did this in World War I also as an anti-submarine measure. So for those of you who knew submarines from World War II, of course, you probably recall that the U-boat was really a torpedo boat that could go underwater once in a while. It was not like what you think of with a modern sub, where it spends all of its time underwater. So the big thing here was we could take one of these and basically fly over a convoy with it, and the U-boats would be like, yeah, no, I can't surface to actually get into position to attack. Of course, there's always the lucky thing where you put up your periscope and a bunch of ships go by. That happens, but a lot of times it did not. Now, these particular blimps here, if I go ahead and open the sucker up here, had a couple different bells and whistles on it. Now, believe it or not, for those of you who know the New England Air Museum, they have one of these, and this little kind of carriage underneath is wild, especially the fact there's a drop little platform that you can climb out to the engine to work on the engine while it's in flight. I just thought that was kind of neat. So scrolling down here, we have a couple different tools on here. We have ourselves a surface search radar. This thing kind of sucks. It works, but as you can see, it's an AN-APS-2. Now, people are like, oh, AN-APG-70. Yeah, this is a 2. So keep in mind, this thing's a little ancient. Honestly, the binoculars work better. We also have MAD. Doesn't work great, but it works. A couple of machine guns and different mounts. And of course, if you scroll down, you'd actually be surprised what we can carry here. We could do some cargo. We can do some cluster bombs, which are amazing, by the way. We also have, of course, the capability to drop a bunch of sonobuoys. Again, these are the old school non-directional sonobuoys. Kind of suck. Feel free to listen to the old record playing. If you go online and type in sonar sound, sonobuoy, World War II, wave file, or something like that, you can listen to what these things can hear. It's disappointing. You'll know what I mean. We also have the Fido, which is a super duper entertaining torpedo. It's not so much that it's effective, it's just entertaining to watch and think about its effectiveness, but it does work against subs sometimes. And of course, we got Mark 47s, which are like, woohoo, let's rock. So what we're going to do is demonstrate the first couple problems you're going to face when you're dealing with a blimp. So if I open up my game options real quick, map display, we're going to go ahead and turn on contact trails, and we're going to leave it on herself here. The biggest problem you're going to face with a blimp, other than the fact it takes a lifetime and a half, think of these as ships, by the way, like really fast flying ships, and you probably get the problems you're going to have, is the turn radius is staggeringly bad. So if I actually were to order myself to take my 90-degree turn here, I will step up. Notice, by the way, how incredibly slow this thing picks up speed. I'm at 15x here. We're going to go ripping past my little destroyer escort real quick. How you doing, buddy? And now we're going to take a turn. Now, at 70 knots, this thing is not going to turn very sharply. So I'm going to let it go. Oh, boy, here we go. I'm going to work out the radius of that turn just for y'all because I'm a nice guy here. That's about a mile wide turn. It's about 0.9 nautical miles for the width of that turn, which I don't know about you, but that's pretty darn wide. So one of the problems you're going to have is, let's say I want to attack this convoy here. You're going to sit here and do one of these things, of course, and it's going to take you. Look at the size of the arc required to line yourself up with the convoy. Now notice, even though we had plenty of room, we completely missed the convoy. If we were to actually do an attack here, we would just round, ding, 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 right by the thing. One of the cool tricks, of course, that a blimp can do that many other aircraft can't, is I can actually stop. So I can order this thing to quit moving. I can actually turn it around in place and watch this. Whoop! It just slows down. And of course, it steps its speed back up because remember, you need a little bit of speed in order to turn here. So watch how big this turn is going to be. Isn't that painful? So that is going to be the number one problem you're going to face with the blimp. The next problem we're going to have, of course, is actually employing it in its purpose in World War II. What I want to do now is I've obviously got to get this convoy across the Atlantic. I'm sure there's some of those nasty U-boats along the way. So how are we going to employ this thing well? Well, the first thing I like to do is I like to go ahead and define the prosecution area. Let's go ahead and change my map settings here. Again, I don't know why they keep changing it like that, but that's all right. Control right-click, area rectangle. Obviously, this is not a huge convoy, so I'm just going to give myself a pretty standard prosecution area here. I'm going to make it about that big. Yeah, that's fine. Proc area. That sounds good to me. Press OK. I'm going to go ahead, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and set this to be a rotating reference point. Let's see here, rotating bearing. I'm going to set it off of the convoy itself. That way it stays kind of and follows the convoy. Now, some of you are like, can you just order the blimp to go zipping around in here? Yeah, you could do that. The downside to that, of course, is that, remember that turn radius thing I was telling you about? So if we detect a submarine right here and he's over here, you're going to lose the entire convoy before he's even done turning around. So kind of keep that in mind. So what I actually prefer to do with these guys is I will create myself a new point to actually do this. So I'm going to go ahead and create one. Let's call it right here. And I'm going to call this one my anchor point. And after I've done that, I'm going to do the same thing I normally do. I'm going to make this a rotating bearing. I'll click on this one right here. Looks pretty good to me. And now what I'm going to do is actually have this move with the convoy, and I'm going to order him to chase after the point. So let's go ahead and hit Control F11. Let's go get this set up. Blimp, go, 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 go. Something like that. Hopefully he's got a T-shirt cannon for us. And we're going to do a C control patrol. Press the okie doke button. And now we're going to grab him. It's going to get not grumpy at us because we do have an airbase for him, believe it or not. All right, this we don't need. We do want unknown contacts outside patrol. We do want them within weapons range. That's both important. One thing you're going to see is I'm going to set this to repeatable loop here. And y'all, I'm actually going to come up here and set the anchor point as my only position. I know that sounds very scandalous, but when you watch how it works in a minute, you'll be like, oh, he knows what he's doing sometimes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the prosecution area. This is basically where I want to blow stuff up. So I'm going to add all these, validate it just to make sure I didn't goofy. Yeah, I'm pretty good today. And now we're good. That's it. This guy's ready to rock. So now you also notice that I have myself some handy-dandy escorts there. I got them, well, obviously. This is the correct escorts for World War II. I have a cannon. I have a Hunt 3. How many times have I been depth charged by one of those? I don't want to admit. And of course, we have ourselves a Fletcher, which is another word for destroyer. So for these chaps, I'm actually going to do it differently. I'm going to use them to sanitize as opposed to try to just look everywhere. Obviously, if we want to design them, we could put one over here, one over here, one over here. That would be an optimum arrangement. You'd have to put them into the formation to make that possible. Instead, I'm going to go the easy wrong way here. I'm just going to, of course, I was almost going to say wrong way, which I'm not completely wrong there. So we're going to go ahead and create a little kind of zone here. That's perfectly fine. Destroyer sand zone. And this is just going to be the zone where my destroyers are going to be doing their thing here. I'm actually going to grab this and pull this up just a little bit. And this is going to be their operational area. And we're just going to do the exact same thing with this point as we did with the other one. So rotating point, I'm going to go ahead and click on my convoy. Delightful. Control F11. Do stuff in the water. All right, we'll set this one to a C control patrol. Obviously, if anything else comes by to say hello, we probably want to take pot shots at it. Let's see here. That looks good. Looks good. Looks good. All right. We're non-aircraft. We're vessels. That looks good to me. Ships. Transit throttle. Oh, come on. It's World War II. Get going. Station throttle. Well, actually, we can even kick this up to flank. Attack throttle. That's pretty old school. That's what we're going to go for. I'm not going to worry about any of those other ones. Let's see here. That's good. That's good. That's good. Patrol area. That's fine. That's exactly what I wanted to do. So they're going to stay in there. And I don't really need a prosecution area. If I wanted to be silly, I could do one of these things and actually add that as my prosecution area. So that way we've got a little bit of overlap between the two zones in the event that we want to keep sinking the sub after we detected it behind us or something like that. All right, I'm liking everything. I think we're in great shape here. That's it. So if you're having issues where it's like, I can't see the map anymore because there's too many visible zones, all set. That's all you need to do. Now watch what happens. Let's grab my blimp here. I'm actually going to move him here. I'm also going to shut off those little trails that were kind of chilling behind him. I don't need this anymore. It's cute. I just don't need it. So let's go ahead and unpause. Let's chew. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, bad sneeze. Ew. Let's go ahead and assign these chaps to the mission. Assign this mission. You guys are going to do some stuff in the water. And again, that's a technical term there. We're going to go ahead and add this one as well. Do stuff in the water, and I'm also going to order this one to do stuff in the water too. The big thing here that I probably mentioned was the fact that I don't put these on the same mission. This blimp has a different property. I need him to look. I need these guys to actually do the engaging. We can use the blimp to drop the Fidos, but it's very, very awkward, and you'll see what I mean. So what's going to happen now is, this is actually pretty cool. I'm actually going to delete that waypoint here. He's going to go ahead and select this point as his kind of a let's go kind of a thing. Let's go make sure he's on the right mission here. I believe I said that correctly. Let me just look. Yeah, and he's going to run up to that anchor point, and you'll notice he never quite gets to the anchor point. He's going to come ripping up there. And he's going to get just about to it, and then he's going to kind of hang out there. And that's going to allow us to have his radar kind of do some of the deed for us. Yep, there he goes. He's going to take a nice long lap, and he's going to come right back to the anchor point. So you see how he's doing kind of this little like whoop-de-daisy kind of a thing, keeping an eye on all the stuff that's around us. All right, so one thing we want to do is we just want to confirm his radar is pinging away. Obviously, radars don't ping, but you know what does ping? World War II destroyers ping. Shame on me on that one. All right, so let's go to MCON. Let's go turn them on. We can go actually shut their radars off if we want to be subtle here. But they will be pinging like crazy in the water. That's just a World War II thing. All right, go, 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 go. I think that's entertaining. All right, so our blimp now is basically going to do these massive air donuts through that point over and over again. Like you see how he does it again, and he's just kind of hanging there. Now, some people say what I would actually prefer is if instead of like kind of doing this little loopy thing, that he chases after this point. If you want him to chase after the point, if you go back to the blimp, go, 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 and go back up to the mission settings, one of the things you can do is you can set this to be, instead of a loop, you can set it to an area. And then the area becomes one wide, and it basically chases after this area. Some people prefer it that way. I kind of like the little loop-de-loop, just in case. And obviously, if you detect something along the way, which I promise you we will in a second, that'll go ahead and arrange itself appropriately. Now let's see here. You're creeping. I don't know why you're creeping. The cannon, meanwhile, is flank speed. You're doing that correctly. And our Fletcher should not be creeping. He should be stepping up to flank speed and getting back into position there. Just going to go ahead and check this. Actually, more traditionally, if I don't know, if you get a little more old school, probably cruise. Transit throttle is going to be flank, and we'll do cruise because that's, I don't know, historical. Not really. Ignore all that. I don't know what I'm talking about. All right, let's go get ourselves some U-boats and cause some trouble. All right, we'll get ourselves some red team. Unpause. Let's go ahead and make sure that when we stick all these guys to start investigating, they're well within the danger zone here, because otherwise it's going to be no fun. All right, there we go. And As a matter of fact, I don't need any of those. I can delete all of those if I want to. I just want to kind of encourage them to travel in that direction. Let's grab them. Oops, Control V. We don't know if there's anything there. They'll figure it out in a second, I'm sure. All right, let's go switch the other guys real fast. USN. All right, little Blimp's doing his thing, looking around. It's keep in mind, whoa, we've spotted something. So now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and order the hostile setting here. And what that's going to cause is everybody's going to panic just a little bit. Our little Blimp here is going to do one of these things, which is always entertaining. He's going to be sitting there going, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Now, one of the problems you're going to face with them, other than the fact that you can't decide where he wants to go, you can go over there. It's fine. Just have to kind of nudge him. One of the problems you're going to face with this is remember how he is a blimp and he's not an airplane. So if you look under the default settings, as far as what speeds and stuff we should be doing this on, you have to kind of be mindful of this because loiter is 0 speed for a blimp. It's just kind of one of those things you got to kind of be mindful of. And it's just kind of like I said, why didn't I think of that kind of a thing? So just be careful of that. And the other problem you're going to have with the blimp too is the attack altitude. If I take a look at my Fido torpedoes, the Mark 40, what? Okay. If we actually take a look at the Mark 42 torpedoes here, you're going to notice that their effective altitude is actually fairly limited. We can drop them from between minus 328, or we can go up to 1,000 feet, which means for us, we have to actually make sure we're at an appropriate altitude to launch them. So one of the mistakes I learned when I was playing with these guys earlier was the fact that if you don't do things at the right altitude, doesn't do much. All right, so here we go. We're going to take our giant turn here, getting up to attack speed. Of course, dropping. Yeah, there it goes. Now he's working. Meanwhile, my destroyers are freaking out right now because they have something that's interesting. There they go. Oh, man. This is giving me flashbacks to Silent Hunter, something ferocious. Now, notice our blimp here is, I got a good, oh my gosh, these guys are so screwed. Don't worry, the blimp will get you. And like I was saying earlier, it's a very, very challenging to get within a range where you can actually deploy your weapons with this thing. Look at it go. All right, we're back into the prosecution zone. I'll line myself up. Again, Blimp's very challenging to use an offensive weapon here. Get you going again. There we go. Looks pretty good. We just need to get just close enough to drop a Fido on you. That's more than enough to drop a Fido on you. There we go. Watch this. This is fun. We can actually tell him to stop. And he can just sit here and like chill. Shift F11. Let's see here. Fire. Keep in mind the Fido is not great. You'll see what I mean. Let's go ahead and switch to God's eye view here. We want to watch the entertaining shot here because, why not? I never get to sink the U-boats from this direction. I'm usually the one running from the torpedo. Oh, yeah, that's going to be sweet. Look at how low the water is here. I would not recommend operating ships or submarines in water this shallow. This is a bit challenging. All right, on the way. I believe there's another one. And of course, if you wanted, he doesn't have a custom model yet. Hopefully they add them later because they're really, really entertaining to play with. All I can think of is like every James Bond movie, like when the code is counting down, like he's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 kind of a thing. Now the fun thing about the Fido torpedo, by the way, is it loved chasing after the people who shot it. So watch this. See how he's getting shallower and shallower? Now what's going to happen is he's going to broach here, and when he broaches, all my destroyers are going to join in on the fun. Now notice we're actually basically outpacing these things, but it's not going to be enough. My Type 7 is not going to escape here. That is not a Type 7, but that's okay. Oh! Nope. Oh! Come on, Cap. Just got to go a little bit faster. A little bit faster. Fido, where are you going? Where are you going? I did mention these torpedoes. Look at that break. Beautiful. Double knuckle port. Double knuckle port. Nice. So you can see how, unfortunately, we were not successful in that regard. So, they're just as unreliable as they were in the real world. I love that. Meanwhile, of course, a bunch of very angry destroyers have all showed up. For some reason, they arrived here at the exact same time. I think the AI is cheating, but that's just me. Now, you can watch these torpedoes just goofing off, trying to reacquire. And notice they're both completely out of energy here. All right, we're going to go ahead and delete that. We're going to set you back to auto everything. I don't need to tell you to do anything. Meanwhile, my destroyer escorts are all going to come rushing in. They got to have their fun too, right? We notice the blimp's like, I got him, I got him, I got him. Let me have him. Let me have him. Trying to get close enough. Now, if he were at depth charges, now notice my blimp will not let that submarine go. Nope, dropped a bunch of sonar buoys. Come on. Wait, all right, notice everybody, of course, snapped back into the patrol zone, prosecution zone, rather than going 40 miles away and not being able to reacquire the original convoy. So as you can see, the blimps are very effective weapons, but they require a lot of manual touch and a lot of kind of planning in advance in order to make best use of them. They really do work, but it's one of those things where you have to understand the platform and understand its missing capabilities in some case, and a little bit of it's kind of fun when it goes to be used. Enjoy.